Do you want me to pitch one of your products?
You could do all of them.
Okay. What do you got going on?
It's just like, lesbian pants, lesbian shoes, lesbian hair products, lesbian cats, lesbian dating apps,
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Lesbian hairstylists. So take it from Rainn.
Here we go. Listen up, lesbians.
This is Don't Ask Tig. I'm Tig Notaro, and I'm doing just fine. Thanks for not asking. You know my guest for his portrayal of Dwight on The Office, among countless other film and television roles, including Harry Mudd on Star Trek Discovery. He hosts the podcast Metaphysical Milkshake with Rainn and Reza, and is the co-founder of soulpancake.com. Rainn Wilson, thank you for being here.
Tig, thanks for having me on your show. And it's really not countless other roles. They're counted other roles.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's really not countless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's counted. I see.
Yeah, I don't know, it's 27 or 35 or 41 or something. But it's a finite number.
Did you get out of the biz? Did you hit your cap and then you got out at the finite number?
I probably should. I probably should get out of the biz.
This is an intervention to get you out of the biz.
I think it might be time.
No, you silly, silly person.
I did get fired from a movie that I didn't even start shooting because I wasn't a big enough name. They're like, we need a bigger name.
See, that's almost better than like putting in your heart and soul. And then they're like, this is terrible. This is so bad. We have to eject now and get somebody else. That happened with stand-up for me. And I didn't realize I was fired. And I showed up to a club and they were running around saying, have we heard from the emergency fill-in comedian yet? And I remember thinking, oh no, I hope Nancy's okay. The other comedian. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And it turned out that my comedy caused an emergency.
Couldn't they have called you?
They could have.
I mean?
It was years ago, though. I didn't have an agent.
Okay.
And it was before cell phones. And
wow.
I just was showing up to the gig that I was booked for. And I had done one show and I bombed. I think I did another show and then bombed. I should have caught on that I caused an emergency.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, they could have faxed you.
They could have faxed my motel or my campsite, probably, more likely.
Yeah.
Now, Rainn, your mother was a yoga instructor, right?
She still is.
She still is.
My mom is 80 or 81. I should know this. And she still teaches yoga.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's living proof that it's a healthy thing to do.
Dude, she is in maximum shape. She has more energy than she knows what to do with. It's kind of crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And your dad wrote science fiction novels.
Yes, he did.
And how do you think your parents' careers shaped your personality?
Wow, we're getting deep right off the bat here.
This isn't deep.
That's pretty deep. How did my parents' careers shape my personality?
Sure. I can tell you how mine... we don't want to go into how my father's assistant manager at a pizza restaurant. It did affect me. It did shape me.
Well, you have an abiding love for pizza.
It actually took a while for me to like pizza.
Oh.
I hated it until I was an adult.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Because I always had to eat it at my father's pizza restaurants.
Oh, your refrigerator was probably filled with pizza boxes.
Well, his. But I didn't live with him.
My dad was a science fiction writer and an abstract painter. So he was painting abstract oils and writing science fiction books whenever he could. I will say that, so our household had a lot of imagination in it, had a lot of creativity. So my creativity and imagination were always greatly encouraged. That was really cool. But one of the things I think in terms of my dad, because my mom and dad split when I was pretty young, I lived with my dad. One of the things was that my dad was never successful at his art. He never sold any paintings, and he sold one science fiction book of his like 15, but he got a check for like $500, and then it didn't really sell any copies. Which was, I realized like, hey, if I want to be an artist of some kind, I'm going to have to really work my ass off, and I can't do it as a hobby. So I think I really learned like I need to like get training and work hard and network and meet people and just do everything I can to try and make a living at it. Because I saw my dad, who passed away last year, really struggle with trying to be an artist. And I didn't want to do that same path.
Yes.
Is this too depressing? Have we gotten really sad? And this is supposed to be a comedy show?
No, this is supposed to be a go deep, go silly, or go home kind of show.
I love it. I love it.
I'm sorry that your father passed away.
Thanks.
But it's kind of similar, as I was saying, with my father working at a pizza restaurant and the different things that he tried that he wasn't successful at.
What did he do outside of the pizza restaurant?
I mean, he had a lot of big ideas.
Yeah.
He didn't see any of these big ideas come true. I think what he saw come true was he had children, I think 5 kids.
Okay.
But yeah, it shifted things for me.
Yeah, so my dad, his day job was managing a sewer construction business. And then he had a little manual typewriter, and he was writing his crazy fantasy science fiction books.
And did you read his books?
I read every book. The second it was done, hot off the presses, I was like giddy with delight.
That's incredible.
I loved them so much. But even I, reading them at age like, 11, 12, 13, even I knew like, well, this is cool, but it's really not good enough to be published. Even I never said that, but like, this part's repetitive. This part's long. I don't really buy this.
Even when you were a kid?
Even when I was a kid.
Okay. Yeah. I think I was about 18 where I thought, I don't think my father's going to do any of these things. Because every time I'd be like, yeah, you should do that. You should open that business, or you should create that thing. And then I think around when I was like 19, maybe, I was like, oh, this is a pattern.
Right.
This isn't going to happen.
Right.
But at least your father was writing stuff and creating things.
He was. Yeah, he did. But even like with his paintings, I would always say, even when I was like, I remember being 11 years old or something, like, how come you never try and sell your paintings? He's like, oh, well, it's kind of a racket, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, you got to go down to where the galleries are in downtown Seattle and just bring your paintings down and see if they want them. Oh, they would never take them. And blah, 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 blah. And I remember at 11 going, wow, I wish he would make some effort to sell his paintings. They're really good. But he didn't. So again, this influenced me,
right?
In a reverse psychology kind of way of like, oh, here's what not to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And you learned and you did well, sir.
I did okay. I got my own podcasting microphone.
You sure do.
Yeah.
And you have more than one podcast, so that's pretty great.
So many pods, so little time.
Now, one of Dwight's most repeated quotes on The Office is, before I do anything, I ask myself, would an idiot do that? And if the answer is yes, I do not do that thing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is that bad advice or good advice?
A great question. I think that's bad advice, because I think then you would be in this process of like, oh, here's something I want to do, or maybe I could do this. And then you stop and you examine it. And then you go, oh, would an idiot do that? And then if you can picture an idiot doing it, then you don't do it. And then it would probably hold you back from trying things. You've got to look idiotic sometimes. You've got to try things like, oh, what's it like to eat a raw potato? Maybe I'll try that. And then you get sick and you're like, okay, I don't need to do that again. I don't know what the choices out there are, but I think it's too cerebral. I think you've got to just try. You've got to try and learn, and you
got to eat that raw potato.
Yeah, you got to eat it. You really do.
Rainn, how are you at giving advice, just in general across the board? Because we're about to get into it.
I love that we're getting into it, and I'm honest. I'll be really honest with you. I think I'm pretty good at it.
Well, we will see.
I've had a lot of therapy. I've 20 years of it. And
nonstop, straight through.
Pretty much. So
that's good.
A few gaps here and there, but I've been through a lot.
Bathroom breaks. You took bathroom breaks during your therapy of 20 years.
Never.
Never. That's quite a bladder.
Mm-hmm. I held it.
Here we go. This is our first one in, and it's actually a question that involves a problem at the office.
Ooh.
Regretful writes, "Hi, Tig. I have an issue with a colleague from work. We became good friends. I was a bridesmaid at his wedding. After we both left the company where we met, I recommended him for a position at my new job. He got the job, and that's when the problems began.
Okay.
I don't know if I changed or he changed, but I just can't stand being around him anymore. He became the type of person who always has to be on top and can't show any sign of vulnerability. It just wears me out being around him every day. He doesn't pick up the clues and thinks we are still good friends. So he keeps following me around the office, meddling into my conversations. I'm just terrible at confrontation, and a part of me feels sorry for him because he's not the most sociable person in the world. What do you think?" That's tricky. I mean, I think it's tricky. Maybe Rainn feels like, oh, I see the clear answer. But, it kind of goes to that thing of when you outgrow a friendship or even breaking up in a romantic relationship, it would call for a very awkward conversation. Right, Rainn?
I'm with you. I'm 9 times out of 10 always about just have the uncomfortable conversation that you don't really, 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 really don't want to have. In this case, there's a number of things that this person said about the other person, where it's like they find them annoying and kind of arrogant in a way, and that can't really be fixed. But if you make it more about the boundaries of I would say it's almost like, hey, I noticed that sometimes you follow me around or sometimes you kind of interrupt, and I just need a little more space at work because I'm trying to have different relationships with lots of different people, and we have our relationship, but I'm trying to get to know Susan in accounting in this certain way, and Bobby. And
Susan's great.
She's great. She's the best.
She's wonderful.
And Bobby in shipping and receiving,
yeah. He's the best.
He's funny. He's funny.
He is. It's dark, but he's funny.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it right at first, but it sneaks up on you.
And sometimes he literally sneaks up on you.
Right. Which can be terrifying because
that's the dark part.
Yeah.
It's like go back to receiving. Is that where you were?
Shipping and receiving, yeah.
Shipping and receiving, yeah.
Because he carries a knife, to open the boxes.
I know.
So but nonetheless, Susan, Bobby, whomever, we have a good time. But I think the conversation would be good, but maybe to keep it a little more specific on some boundaries rather than saying, you're annoying, I don't like you, and you've gotten arrogant.
Which you could do, and that will take care of the problem immediately. This guy will never talk to you again.
Yes. Yep.
So.
Yep.
Regretful, take it from Rainn. He played a meddlesome coworker on TV for years. So, Rainn, it's time for a short break. Then we'll come back for more questions.
Last Day is a show about the moments that change us.
I just don't think I will ever get used to this.
I'm Stephanie Whittleswax, and I have had one of these moments. We all have. So let's unpack the chaos that is our human existence together.
I don't believe things happen for a reason. I don't believe the universe has a plan.
Each week, I sit down with a new guest to explore happy, sad stories of transformation.
It's leaning far, far into the pain. That's what it is.
Listen to Last Day wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, listeners, we get support from Indeed. You know what my least favorite game is? The waiting game. No one wins, and it can take, as the name suggests, forever. When it comes to hiring, don't wait for great talent to find you. Find them first with Indeed. With Indeed, you have everything you need on one platform. No need to spend hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills. You can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. When you're hiring, you need Indeed. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Tig. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/Tig. Indeed.com/Tig. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. We are back. Rainn, this next question is from a fan of yours.
Okay.
Mary writes, "Hi there. I saw that Rainn will be on and had a question. I've heard Rainn speak about proudly being weird, and he played Dwight beautifully. My question is, for those of us who at some point started toning down our innate offbeatness, what is the best way to start tapping back in without worrying the people close to us by maybe going the opposite direction and coming on way too strong?"
Maybe start with footwear.
Ooh, like
kind of the Herman Munster Doc Marten boots.
I like that. What about clown shoes?
Clown shoes could work. Yeah. That is an odd question. I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know what.
Well,
I
the
feel
question,
I feel like this person is so repressed, like they're holding in all this weirdness.
Yeah.
There's so much weird that wants to come out. And they're like, how do I not let it all, what would it look like for this person to all of a sudden, they have a pet ferret and they get a face tattoo and they,
a ferret on a leash and a parrot on the shoulder,
yes.
A ferret and a parrot, everything that rhyme, has to rhyme.
And they want to play Dungeons and Dragons all weekend long, and they only drink Yoo-hoo chocolate soda or something like that. Like their total weirdness is gonna. I think you got to let it out. What is their name? Mary? Is that what you said?
Mary, and not a weird sounding person at all.
Just let your freak flag fly, right, Tig?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
You can't go incremental with this. You just got to let it out.
I've always thought of uncomfortable moments and awkwardness and weird things about yourself. I picture the human body full of springs, and that you're trying to hold the springs in, but every now and then boing, one pops out and you just try and shove it back in, and boing, the other one pops out, and you're just going through life trying to push these springs back in. And I think Mary is, she's got a lot of springs ready to boing.
Yeah.
Can you make that noise?
Boing. I don't do it as good as you.
You really don't. You should have just said no when I said, "Can you do that noise?"
Boing. Boing. That's lame. Wow. I can't make that noise effectively, but I didn't know that before you asked. I thought I could.
You can't make that noise.
I can't do it.
Yeah. Oh well, Mary. You gotta let your freak flag fly and your springs pop out.
Let them go.
I mean,
boing.
Yeah, no, let them go. Boing. I feel like that's what she's doing right now. Is what you're doing. Yeah, you can't keep those in.
That's
you can't keep those springs in. You can't keep your freak flag down for too long.
That's right.
Or else you're going to end up like
Bobby and shipping and receiving.
I was about to say Bobby and shipping and receiving, but we had so many great things to say about him.
That's a callback. That's what they call in comedy, callback.
I know. I've always appreciated that you give me comedy lessons over the years. Oh, all right. Rainn, this next one is a coronavirus conundrum.
Uh-oh.
What if COVID-19 never disappears?
Health experts say the key word is adapt.
I know, America, you're really tired of hearing those things, but the virus is not tired of us, and it's shape-shifting.
Our fate is in our own hands.
Please get vaccinated. Please do it.
Faith and Tatum write, we postponed our May 2020 wedding to March 2022 and have lost touch with some of the originally invited people and made new friends since. We were at the maximum number for our venue. Is there a tactful way to uninvite some people we haven't spoken to in almost 2 years to invite new good friends? P.S. Stephanie and you are invited and welcome to take the place of 2 people we haven't spoken to in years. Well,
that's nice.
That's very nice, but Rainn didn't get an invite.
I did not get an invite.
You and your wife will not be.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about your sons, too? Guess no kids?
I guess no kids.
I think in this case, Tig, you gotta go with like the old folks. It's been so long since we're originally getting married. Now we're getting married again. We're just gonna have a much smaller, kind of more intimate ceremony. We're doing things a little bit differently. We'll be having a Zoom gathering to.
So you're saying lie?
I am saying lie, aren't I?
But I like what you're saying about that we are, scaling down.
Yep.
And you could scale down and keep it honest by just making it one less person. That way it stays completely honest. You scaled down.
Yep.
Let's say you've invited 300 people, invite 299. That way you stay honest. Here's the thing. You got to make sure people aren't uploading photos after you say you scaled down, because although you're keeping it honest at 299, it might reveal that there's still a load of people that went.
Yeah, that is tough.
Yeah, but I think you make a good point, Rainn. Just say that you've scaled down. People can't really argue during pandemic time. Who's going to argue too?
There might be some hurt feelings,
There's going to be hurt feelings, but are you really going to fight about it and be like, no, I'm coming?
Well, no, that's not going to happen. But, Ronnie and Scott, they used to be good friends.
Oh, yeah.
And they live down the block, and then they're disinvited, and they look on Instagram, and they look on Penelope's Instagram, and it's like, oh my God, look at all the champagne toasts. What?
Well, first of all, the problem lies with Penelope because she posts way too much.
All the time.
It's like, can you not live your life without posting? We know you're alive. We know you're doing things.
We know you have a cat. Like, relax. Yeah. Jeez.
Did we help Faith and Tatum?
Yeah, I think, listen, Tatum, it's about, I think what we're saying is right on. Saying, hey, we've shifted the focus of the wedding. We're downscaling a little bit, and so sorry, but
we don't like you anymore.
We're going in a different direction. That's what they always say in Hollywood. You don't get apart. They're like, they've decided to go in a different direction. Just say they don't want you.
Yeah, with the pandemic, you've reorganized things, scaled down a bit. Just go from 300 to 299 or whatever your number is.
Sure.
And then
scale down could even mean like I'm spending less money. If you were going to spend $53,000, just spend $52,000. Right?
That's true. Yeah. Just, you
Just
know, keep it honest.
Forgo the chocolate fountain.
That's right. Faith and Tatum, thanks for the invite. I'm going to send Rainn in my place with my children. For this final listener question, Rainn, Zoe writes, Tig, I have a hard time reading books. My attention span is short, and then I often end up forgetting to finish all the way through. Do you have any juicy book suggestions that I wouldn't be able to put down? Thanks. Well,
you know, I have an advice around that. I think start with books that are really fun to read and page turners. Like if you are a fan of Carole King, then get the page turner Carole King biography and read it, and you'll love it, and you'll be like, oh my God, and you just can't put it down. You just start from the beginning and go to the end, and then do several of those, and it gets you in the rhythm of of reading. It motivates you, and then you can kind of stretch out to like, I'm going to read a biography of Laura Nyro or someone much more obscure. I don't know.
I think that's, I think finding your passion is really good. I mean, I think you could find that in biographies and autobiographies, as well as self-help. Like, what's your big problem? Do you get in your own way? Mm-hmm. Do you have control issues? Do you, whatever it is, maybe look into self-help, and you might be connecting in that way where you're like, oh, this is really good. This is helpful. I like this information I'm getting. I do want to say, if you start with any sort of biography, autobiography type book, why not start with Tig Notaro, I'm Just a Person? That's a wonderful book to start with.
Or Rainn Wilson's The Bassoon King.
Right. I mean, that would be second in line. Mine will I mean, this is a listener of my podcast, Rainn.
I'll take second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So read mine, then Rainn's, then read about your whatever issues you need to deal with. Mm-hmm. Go get some help. Listen, Zoe, you need help. That's what this boils down to. Is you are out of your mind and you need help. So go get the help you deserve. But I think that finding some sort of personal connection or interest would be very helpful. Those are our book recommendations.
There you have it.
Those are our book recommendations, and those are binding.
Did you do that on purpose?
Repeat it.
Those are our book recommendations, and those are binding.
Yes, those are binding, like a book.
And I think we've covered that one.
Did you mean to do that?
Do what?
Interrupt me winding down this question.
Yeah. Read the fine print, Tig.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Rainn, our final segment for you is a special one. And it's one that we call Advice of Yesteryear.
When Jerry brags about taking Ginny out, he learns that she dates all the boys.
So, as we see now, menstruation is just one routine step in a normal and natural cycle.
How do you choose a date? Well, one thing you can consider is look.
I did everything you said, but my boss still hasn't asked me to lunch.
This is where we take a real question from an advice column of yesteryear, and we try to answer it a little better. This question comes to us from 1921, from Beatrice Fairfax advice column, Advice to the Lovelorn. Dear Beatrice Fairfax, I am a little boy, 18 years old, and I want your advice. 7 months ago, I met a girl whom I dearly loved, and she permitted me to see her every evening. We got along fine for about 4 months. Then I think she got tired of me and told me she did not like me. So, believing she really meant what she said, I went in search of another and found one. One day, I wrote her a letter, and my first friend found it out. The next week I called on her, and she was very angry. She said I was deceitful and told me to leave her home. Now I'm trying to forget her, but I can't. She is always on my mind. So if there is any way that you know that I can forget her, please give me your advice. Signed, MDDM. 1921. When did people stop writing like that? And when did people stop considering themselves a little boy, 18 years old?
At 18, yeah.
I mean,
that a little boy is like 5 years old, like Max.
And Finn.
Yeah, isn't human nature funny? Because he went and he found someone else, but then he's obsessed with the woman who's rejected him multiple times. Why are we like that? Why do we always look for love in the wrong places?
What is this, the Urban Cowboy soundtrack?
Looking for love and all the wrong... Was that an Urban Cowboy?
Yes, sir.
That song was?
Yes, sir.
I guess that's what it brought up for me. Is like, this is 100 years ago, and like I know so many people that are like obsessed with the person who's rejecting them.
Have you gone through that before? The back and forth, the push and the pull and the...
Yeah, I had an early high school girlfriend, and she dumped me, and then we kind of got back together after graduation, and then she kind of dumped me again, and then we got together in college for a while, and then I did dump her, and there was a lot of kind of back and forth. And now we're good friends to this day. We're actually good friends. I actually spoke to her yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So it all worked out.
Well, yeah, I think this little boy of 18 years old, he does seem young. But I mean, you are young at that age, even though you're legally an adult. I can't believe how immature I was. I mean, I really can't. And so,
I can't believe how immature I was at 40.
I was going to say, I think that I kind of turned a corner when I met Stephanie almost a decade ago. That was kind of my big wake-up call. And then we adopted a cat. I mean, things got serious. Yeah.
I think MDDM needs to see more of the world. He needs to get out. He needs to go to, I don't know, Singapore and smoke opium.
Go out with flappers.
Yes. He needs to go out with some flappers. And he needs to ride one of those giant bicycles with the giant front tire.
The tiny back tire. That's what he needs. Yeah.
Yeah. And he needs to go on a steamboat up and down the Mississippi. And all of that. He needs to send a telegraph.
If she doesn't get your telegraph, then gosh darn it, ride your big wheel in the front and tiny wheel in the back bike over to her house. And
smoke some opium with her.
Do you want to hear what Beatrice wrote back in 1921?
Oh, yeah, I do.
I believe I would forget a young lady so very hard to suit. She doesn't want you, and she does, all in the same breath, it would seem. Anyway, you are entirely too young to take any girl seriously, and it is not wise to call on any young lady every night in the week. It is inevitable.
That's a good point, and we did miss that.
We missed a lot, Rainn. That isn't the one part of this episode where we fell short. You're like chiming in going, all right, I admit it. We missed that part.
But I'm kind of kicking myself like, yeah, every night of the week? Like, cool down, bro. Cool your jets.
He's just a little boy.
I'm just a little boy.
It's inevitable that one or the other will tire in time.
Wisdom for the ages.
Rainn, we've reached the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything that you would like to let our listeners know?
No, I don't have anything to promote.
What about Office reruns?
Find a new show, people. Enough already with the Office reruns. Yeah, you mentioned Metaphysical Milkshake. They can listen to Metaphysical Milkshake. Big human ideas told with great jocularity.
Wonderful.
You were on a very special episode about comedy and trauma.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I have a tour. I have a national tour.
What?
Yeah, I don't just have a podcast.
Right.
And a thriving acting career and just a book. You know what I mean, Rainn?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I also have a tour coming up.
You should get an agent.
I do have representation.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, good. Good. Because you need...
You need what?
No, that's good. You're going to need someone to, answer those calls on your behalf and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, Rainn, it was wonderful to see you, as always. And I look forward to when I see your mug in the flesh again. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me on your show. This was super fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Rainn.
So long, America.
Listeners, don't forget to do your last-minute holiday shopping with tickets to my tour. Hello Again is the title of the tour, and tickets are at tignotaro.com. Get tickets for yourself because you love yourself, and for your loved ones who aren't you. And remember, we're taking a little break, so we will see you again on January 5th.
That's what your heart is for. That's what your heart is for. That's what your heart is for. Listen to your heart.
Don't Ask Tig is hosted by me, Tig Notaro. It's produced by Thomas Willett, Shayna Deloria, and Ryan Lohr. Our executive producer and editor is Beth Perlman. Engineering and sound mixing by Johnny Vince Evans and Eric Romani. Digital production by James Napoli. Talent booking by Marianne Ways. Production support from Pizza Shark and Dan Latu. Our theme music is Friend and Tig by Edie Brickell and Kyle Crusham. And Listen to Your Heart by Edie Brickell. Special thanks to Hunter Seidman. APM Studios executives in charge are Lily Kim, Alex Schaffert, and Joanne Griffith. Concept developed by Tracy Mumford. Our executive consultant is Dean Capello and Gobsmack Studios. You can always ask for advice at don'tasktig.org. Just write in with your problem or send us a voice memo. Remember to follow us on social media at Don't Ask Tig. Don't Ask Tig is a production of American Public Media. And as always, thanks, Dana, and I'll tell Becky.